This is a Pele Media podcast.
Welcome back to Goonies Minute, everybody. Goonies Minute is the fan podcast where we carefully explore the movie Goonies minute by minute. This is Brady.
And this is Chris.
And Chris, your mic sounds a hell of a lot better.
I know, I'm glad.
This is how fancy or how tech savvy we are at Pele Media. We figured out that if Chris simply turned his mic around, it would sound better. And I was about to invest in a whole new mic system.
But I'd like to know how many wireless mics that you see singers and other people on stage that they hold their mic and they have to turn it a certain way.
Yeah, and they've got to remember to do that.
No, they don't. No one has to do that.
That's true.
I help DJ.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah, that's right.
And I hand somebody a mic. I don't say speaking to this side of the mic. Mm-hmm. Think about it.
That's true. And these are, I mean, we have
these are very nice
here.
mics. I just don't. I don't understand. Maybe we can look at that a little bit better. Maybe it's because these are more, I don't know, stationary.
It could be that.
I don't know. I mean, because they're good mics, and actually, considering how much better it is, I can't believe that the fact that they could even pick us up. So that's the way it got that much better. I don't know.
I think weird. I think we're starting to ramble about things that aren't Goonies related.
Yeah.
So let's get into the minute.
Let's get into the minute.
In the previous minute, the Goonies were pleading with Troy to lower the bucket and help them out of the well. He was being anything but helpful. Chunk sits tied in a chair in the Fratelli's dungeon-like room. He sees the deformed man sitting in the corner, watching a pirate movie on TV. Chunk turns his attention to the man and tries to introduce himself. The camera pushes in on the man as he turns around. He reveals his deformed face and misshapen head. The man screams as Chunk begins to panic and bounce around in his chair. The deformed man is amused and begins to do the same. We then cut to the Fratellis examining the hole where the fake fireplace had been. Francis shines a flashlight down and they begin to debate who will go down first. Ma tells Jake to go first. He refuses, so she pulls a .45 Magnum on him. He quickly reconsiders and begins to lower himself down. We cut back to the wishing well. Troy is lowering the bucket down. Brand says because he is the oldest, he calls the shots, and Andy is going up first. And thus ends minute 64 of the Goonies. Okay, it's a big moment in this movie because we are introduced to one of the most iconic characters in any film from the 80s and maybe beyond. The character who we have seen so far, and we've referred to him so far on the show as Sloth, but today is when we actually finally get the big reveal. We see his face it's his real introduction. There you go. Just like that. But we're actually going to save the next show coming up on Monday for really delving into the character Sloth and the actor who played him and really get down to the nitty-gritty because there's just too much there to fit into a Friday show. And so instead, we're actually going to start off with something that Francis is saying. He's chanting, and we have absolutely no idea what the hell he means, and that is Hare Krishna. So Francis is sitting, kind of dancing around and saying Hare Krishna to Chunk and Sloth. Now, earlier in the movie, as Brand is leaving and stealing Data's sister's bike, Mrs. Walsh says, if you don't bring back your brother, I'm going to commit Hare Krishna on you.
No, Harry Carey.
Yeah. And no, she says Hare Krishna, and he says, Mom, I think you mean
it's Harry. Oh, that's what it is. That's what it is, yeah.
And so we've got a little reference to Hare Krishna, and then Hare Krishna is coming back into the script randomly here, and we cannot figure out why. Yeah, and in reference to what?
But here's the thing: in the way he's saying it, it seems like he wants us to know he's saying it. He seems like it's supposed to be important. It's emphasized, but I don't get it.
Yeah, it's very much there for us to hear, and I just don't understand.
And we've looked different places, and
now we looked into what Hare Krishna is, and it does not apply. It does not apply to anything going on in this scene or in this movie. So who knows? Maybe it's just something that Francis likes.
If somebody knows something, please let us know.
Yeah.
This scene opens up, and the shot of this scene that opens up it's this look of Chunk, always doing it. This look of Sloth from behind.
Yeah.
And it's such a disturbing image. I was always afraid of Sloth. Mm-hmm. He disgusted me. I've talked about this before, but this shot of him from behind, he's almost like a Mr. Potato Head that like it was the potato head was Play-Doh and he's been shaped a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
From behind, it's just a disturbing figure, and I can't imagine being a child and seeing this man up close.
Yeah.
I would be terrified.
Go ahead, sorry.
And his reveal of when he turns to Chunk,
Mm-hmm.
I love the way they zoom into his face for when he screams. It is horrifying.
For a character that has had such a build-up, they are rewarding us for this reveal. He's not just turning around. The camera is pushing
that
in on
zoom,
him. He's turning to us and smiling and doing his goofy laugh and looking the viewers right in the eye. Now, you talk about this being kind of a disturbing moment. There is a shot of when the brothers leave them, Chunk is tied up, and we see in the corner of this dungeon, Sloth, this, deformed mountain of a monster, just watching, old black and white TV that he's being forced to watch, chained up. This is one of those things that if you took this image, somehow it's being played for laughs here. Somehow we find it funny. If you took this and put it into a really disturbing thriller, I always go back to Seven, David Fincher's Seven for the example. If you put it in that movie, it would not be funny at all. We would not be saying it's the same thing, but we're seeing it in, I guess, different contexts.
Absolutely.
And it's interesting to me how, okay, we're going into a PG-rated kids adventure, and somehow that makes it different. It's so strange to me how we work like that. There was a silent movie came out way back in maybe even before the 1920s, where there was an editor who was kind of playing with why viewers think the way that they do when they see certain things. And he had a shot, just a static shot of a man's face with no expression. And then he would show the man's face, and then he would show I think it was like a bowl of soup or something. Then it would go back to the man's face, and then it would go back to the shot of like a child playing, go back to the man's face, and then it would go to a shot of like a funeral or something. And he would say to the audience, like, okay, when we showed this the bowl of soup, what expression did the man have on? And they would say, he looked kind of hungry. He was looking like longingly at the soup. What about when he was seeing the child? They say, oh, well, we could kind of see like a slight smile. He looked delighted. What about when he was seeing the funeral? And they said he just looked so sorrowful and sad. It's all about context of where this thing is placed. So we're seeing the same thing, but it means something different to us, and we react a certain way to it because of the context of the other thing that we're witnessing. And it's just a philosophy, a mindset that applies here as well. So, class dismissed. So
I couldn't say it better. I have nothing to add. That was perfect.
But anyway, let's get back down into the wishing well. And
no, let's not do that.
Let's not do that yet. What you got?
So after the screaming of Sloth, Chunk starts to scream, and he starts jumping his chair up and down.
Yeah.
And then Sloth starts to jump his chair up and down. And right then and there, that's kind of the camaraderie that they develop right then, to where it's like, okay, if you're someone watching this for the first time, you think, okay, maybe this guy is not all that bad.
Yeah.
He might not be like his brother. Right when he starts to kind of
which is good.
Jump with Chunk.
Yeah, and that's good for them, the filmmakers, to just go ahead and answer that question right off the bat and not have it be another thing we're going to have to follow and figure out and discover as we go. They're going to go ahead and say, no, this guy's lovable. You're here to like him. He's not the monster that he looks like. So have some sympathy for him, and here we go. Off we go. Their relationship starts to develop.
The last thing I wanted to mention before we go to the Fratellis is the foreshadowing. The part of, is it Captain Blood?
Yeah.
That's playing. It's kind of a foreshadowing, that scene with
the music
the
and
knife.
the things, yeah. Okay, so
it kind of reminds me of it's like a foreshadowing of what's going to happen at the end.
Now I think we already spoke about something where there was Sloth or some other character was kind of, I think it was, you know what, it was in that same Patreon episode where you talked about how Sloth was watching Captain Blood and the knife, using the knife to get down his tails. So he's kind of applying what he's saying to how he is going to save the day.
Right.
So he sees Captain Blood saving the day as a pirate.
And you hear the same music.
Yeah, and so he becomes, he's saving the day as a pirate, as he saw later on in the movie. So you know what, parents? TV can do good for your children.
Absolutely.
So put them right in front of it, whether it destroys their animal or not. Let them sit in front of the TV and
just
watch.
Just don't drop
them,
because then they'll look like Chunk. I mean, Sloth. Well, and if he put him in the front of the TV too much, they'll look like Chunk also.
Probably. So we cut back to the wishing well, and Data says, okay, let me go. I'm the smallest, so let me go up on the bucket first. And so somehow they've convinced Troy to help them out. And Bran says, no, I'm the oldest, so I'm going to call the shots. Who gets to go up first? Andy gets to go up first. He is going to send this girl that he likes so much up to the sexual predator and attempted murderer that he knows that bucket ain't going to come down for anybody else. They're not going to send that bucket down for anybody else. Bran is an idiot. They're going to, run away with Andy. And that bucket is never going to come down there. So this is another example of Bran not having any answers for us, not being the smartest guy, and just because you were the older brother doesn't mean squat.
No, this is a long line of these things happening. So we talk about, Bran having his issues again, where he's not the leader.
Right.
Nobody really listens to him. But I also want to talk about the Fratellis are about to join this little treasure search.
Yeah.
So they're at the fireplace, just like Chunk had told them, hey, my friends went in the fireplace. Mm-hmm. But here is a hole that they don't know what's down there, so who's going to go first? And, of course, the brothers are arguing about which one, and then you see Ma take out a .357 Magnum and point it at her son. She makes the decision quite easy for him, but this is just classic. Remember I said she's all business.
Yeah. That would obliterate him. That would
turn
him
into
pure
this is
liquid. Yeah,
especially from that. This is
a hand cannon, right? Isn't that what they call that?
I've never heard it called that. That doesn't mean I'm not a gun expert. I know a sawed-off shotgun is a boomstick. And that's my favorite.
From Army of Darkness?
I just know it's a boomstick.
A boomstick.
My grandpa used to be a sheriff in West Baton Rouge Parish, and he carried around a boomstick.
Really?
Yeah, they're completely illegal.
Wow.
Sawed-off shotguns are not illegal, but I love them.
All right. With that said, we now know.
What did you say? What kind of cannon?
A hand cannon.
It could be.
Where did I get that? It's like a slang term for.
We'll have to look that.
57
It might be. It might be.
I don't know where I heard that, but I do know that is all that I have for this minute.
And that's all I have too.
Great. All right, everybody. With that said, go out and have a great weekend. We will be back here Monday with minute number 65, and until then, this is Brady.
And this is Chris reminding you to help control the pet population. Have your pets spayed or neutered.
Thank you, Bob Barker.
And we're going to remind you that Goonies
never say die. Goonies Minute is a fan-supported podcast. If you like the show, then leave us a review on iTunes. You can find us at GooniesMinute.com, Facebook.com/GooniesMinute, Twitter.com/GooniesMinute, and at Instagram @GooniesMinute. You can contact us at GooniesMinute@gmail.com. You've been listening to a Pele Media podcast. For premium content and exclusive podcasts, visit us at patreon.com/PeleMedia. Check us out on Facebook at facebook.com/PeleMedia and follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/PeleMedia.